Hello and welcome to another episode of Viper nanoCHATs. And this is a series where we engage in the critically reflective teaching practice of talking to our peers and colleagues and sharing our experiences as instructors. So I'm Shirley Lynn from the Naval Academy, and I'm joined today by 4 of our Viper Fellows, and I'll let them go ahead and introduce themselves now.
Hi, I'm Janet Schrenk, and I teach at the University of Massachusetts Lowell.
Hello, I am Abdul Mohammed. I teach at the Department of Chemistry, North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina.
I'm Kate McCusker, and I teach at East Tennessee State University.
Hi, I'm Andrea Van Duzor, and I teach at Chicago State University.
So welcome to everyone. Today, our topic, we'll be talking about how we level the playing field for students that come into our classrooms with different levels of background and preparation for our courses. So Janet, would you like to go first?
Sure. So when I teach advanced inorganic in the fall, I notice that students who have tutored for the department have a very good background in the freshman chemistry required for advanced inorganic, but the students who come in without that experience were very weak. And so August 1st, I send out a list of topics from chemistry 1 and 2 that are important to advanced inorganic, along with the pages from the textbook they would have used to review, and then old Chem 1, Chem 2 quiz questions and a separate document with an answer key so they can test their knowledge of the material that's important for their success in advanced inorganic.
So do you kind of require this of your students, or is this a voluntary thing?
It is a voluntary thing, but it puts them on notice that that material is important. And then some years I actually will do a Friday afternoon session once school has started for students who want to review in person, for an afternoon.
And I'm curious about what level of interest you usually get for the people who want to tutor. Is it a large number? I assume it's self-selecting?
For students who tutor for Chem 1, Chem 2, it is somewhat self-selecting. It's also, we invite certain students. Obviously, they have to be fairly strong. So that also comes into play, but we actively recruit students to tutor. We actually run a tutoring room 9 to 5, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 1 on Fridays, with both faculty and student tutoring.
All right, who'd like to share next?
Okay, I can go next. This is Abdul here again. As I mentioned, I usually give my students diagnostic exam with open-ended questions and on topics we're going to cover in inorganic chemistry. And I try to give them feedback based on their answers and try to gain some knowledge of where the gaps may be that I can address later on. I try to note some common misconceptions based on their answers, and I try to follow up on that, try to give them personalized feedback based on that.
So when do you actually give this exam?
Well, I usually give the exam during the first week of classes at the very beginning to see what the knowledge gaps are that I can address later on. Yeah. And I try to give them feedback by the second week of classes. Yeah.
I may have missed this. Did you say that the test was for credit, or was it just diagnostic?
It's just diagnostic, not for credit. Yeah. So on certain occasions, I also do maybe a post test to see if there has been any change from their score at the beginning of the semester. Yeah.
I think you already answered my question. I was wondering if you ever used it for assessment purposes, and it sounds like sometimes you give it as a post test as well.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, next person.
So I was gonna say at East Tennessee State, we have a master's program and we get a lot of international students with a very varied background in inorganic chemistry. And so what I started doing this past fall is creating what I called self-study modules. So kind of a basic review of what I think is important that they should have gotten from their undergraduate inorganic chemistry to kind of start everyone off all at the same point. So we kind of, review, diatomic MO and basic crystal field theory and those kind of things so that I knew kind of where about we needed to start, or so that we were all at the same level when we started at kind of graduate level inorganic chemistry.
I had a question. So one of the goals of Viper, I think, is to have better outreach to graduate schools and graduate programs. Right now Viper is very undergraduate centered, and since you're mentioning master students, do you have thoughts on how we could build something in Viper that would be helpful for master's level and PhD level folks?
I mean, I don't know about PhD level, but I kind of find that, our master's program is maybe kind of equivalent to some, more advanced classes, more advanced undergraduate classes. So I can kind of take things from, the upper level undergraduate classes and apply them in master's classes. So there's a lot of overlap there.
Yeah. Question, do you have any sort of assessment based on those modules?
So at least in the past, in the fall, since we were doing everything online, that was kind of their asynchronous class time. And so then each module had an LO to go with it. So some sort of problem set that they kind of worked on their own time. And they got grades for that. In the future, I may make it more optional or have kind of shorter assignments to go with it. But since that was part of our class, they were actually had assignments and were graded on it.
Great. Andrea, would you like to go next?
Sure. I use a lot of process-oriented guided inquiry learning, or POCL. So we do a lot of small group work in the classroom, which is nice because then I can have, a student who's a little bit stronger, has to articulate their knowledge, a student who has a little bit weaker, a little bit more difficulty with the concepts, has a near peer that they can really discuss those ideas with. I'm able to go around from small group to small group and help as needed. I'd say about 80% of the class is probably small group work, with the rest being full class discussion. And we do that both when we were in the in-person settings and in remote settings. I make Google Docs for each group, and then I monitor the Google Docs and jump between breakout rooms in Zoom. And that really seems to help also keep our class cohesive.
I've used POGL in the past myself, and a question that I have is, do you assign the roles? There's like the manager and then the presenter, and I know that in my experience, it was sometimes difficult to get the students to actually embrace those roles and carry them out.
Yes, in my general chemistry classes, I assigned roles, and I'm a little bit more strict about that. Inorganic is a smaller class, and I let students self-select a little bit more unless I notice people being really quiet. And then we have roles for the day.
Just as a follow-up, do you have any trouble getting all the students to participate? Some students tend to be relatively quiet and not participate in the group work. Do you have any issues with that?
We haven't. I think it also helps the sort of culture of our department that they've used that in general chemistry 1 and 2. They use that in physical chemistry, so they know what to expect.
Okay.
All right, well, this concludes our nanoCHAT for today. And I just want to thank all of our Viper Fellows and to remind those of you watching on the YouTube channel that you can go to ionicviper.org and join our group Discord server where we can have conversations about these nanoCHATs and many other aspects of teaching right there. So thanks again.